But this candidate here is running for U.S. House Representative against Brad Ellsworth. Her name is Krisi Risk, and we're delighted she came here. I know she traveled a long way, too, to be here tonight. And I'd like to welcome her and thank her for being here, and here she is.
That we are able still to gather like this, because I'm not so sure that next year, if we don't do something, that we'll be able to do this. We really don't know what the government's doing right now. My name's Krisi Risk. I've been married for 17 years. I'm not a professional politician. I've been involved some with the Republican Party in my county, with the Women's Republican part of the Women's Republican Club. I've been studying politics for years. I've always been involved in it. My husband just thought I was nuts because I was always interested in it. And he would just say, oh, you know, babe, just don't even mess with that. So I just want to tell you real briefly why I'm here. About a year ago, and I'm just going to be frank, because I am who I am. You either like me for who I am or you don't. And that's just kind of how I am. About a year ago, I started praying. And I started praying that God would raise up someone, anyone in this nation to run with integrity. Just one person, Lord. I said, please, just one person to lead. If you have a leader, people will follow. You're either a leader or you're a follower. And there's always more followers than there are leaders. So I just started praying, Lord, please raise up a leader. Continue to pray. Earlier this year, the thought kind of came to my mind, well, why don't you step out and lead? And I thought, okay, state representative. Well, the thing is, Bob Keaton's running for state representative, and I like Bob. And I worked Bob's campaign for him when he ran a couple of years ago. So I didn't feel like that was the avenue, so I thought, well, you know, I won't pursue this, obviously, at Door's Post. So I continued to pray, and then, again, the thought kept coming, run for office. And I thought, oh, there's nothing, you know, I'm not qualified, I'm not this, I don't have a PhD, I don't have all these things behind me that I could do this with. So I continued to just pray that God would raise someone up, and that thought just never went away. So I went to the Chamber of Commerce at the state. I started talking to different people who said, you know what, do it, go for it, do it. And so I'll be honest with you, I fasted and prayed for a whole week. And I said, Lord, you know, this isn't a game. This is people's lives. This is serious. There's nasty people in Washington, D.C. Let me tell you, I met some of them a couple of weeks ago. So this isn't a game. So if I step out, I've got to know. So I went to my husband. I thought, okay, I hadn't said anything to him about it all this time. Let me tell you something. My husband's a Christian man, but he used some explicatives and told me, don't you even mention that to me again. And I said, okay, you know, you go and you pray about it. About 4 days later, he came back and he says, you know, he says, we need to sit down and talk about this. So we sat down and talked about it, and he said, you know, why? Tell me why you want to do this. And I told him, I said, babe, I've got 4 children. I love my babies. I love you. I've got 2 parents, 2 aging parents. He's got 2 aging parents. I love them dearly. I love this country. I love the people. I'm almost done with my counseling degree because I love people and I want to help people. I said, if somebody doesn't stand up, David, who will? Who will? And he said, then do it. But if you do it, don't you dare go to Washington and change, because I will kick your butt if you do. And that's exactly what he told me. Do not go to Washington. Our current government has far exceeded their constitutional limitations. They've usurped it. They are so far out of checks and balance, it is unreal. In fact, they're so far gone in some instances that they have actually created, and I kind of coined this phrase, a phantom constitution, and they don't even acknowledge our written constitution anymore. They're kind of making the rules up as they go along. Yep. And so the concern that I'm having right now is that the things that are going on in Washington, the people that are up there right now, they're not even willing to listen to us. Our current representative didn't even have town hall meetings when we begged for them. And then he did a phone one, and I got in on the phone one and pushed the wrong button and couldn't get back in. So I finally got into one in Brazil this last week, in which he promised to tell the truth, and you know, I may not know the answer, but I will tell you the truth. I said, okay, good. You know, I'm just sitting there listening. Had one person, one gentleman, and you can see this if you go on Fox News 7, you'll see it. This one gentleman says, you know, and he's a federal prison guard, so you would think there would be some camaraderie there because of our current representative having been a sheriff. He said, I just want to ask you a question. When you go in to vote, Do you read those bills yourself, or does somebody tell you how to vote? Well, that's the most ridiculous question I've ever heard. Of course I read those bills. Nobody tells me how to vote. Okay, do you know how many bills went through the 110th Congress? 11,000 bills went through the 110th Congress. These are very fast reading. 50,000 bills in the last half century have been passed. Do we really need that many bills? No. We don't. We don't need that many. Let me tell you something about Congress. When Congress overextends its authority and writes a 2,000 or a 4,000 page health care bill, that's usurpation. They have usurped their authority. When Congress increases the budget appropriations for their pay, I don't know if anybody knows about H.R. 2918, 5% increase for the Senate and the House of Representatives over their fiscal 2009 budget. When they increase their pay while we're out here struggling to make our house payments, feed our families, do everything, that is embezzling. They are embezzling from the taxpayers. When they consider a bill that will force you and I, force us to pay for someone else's abortion against our will, not just us, but a doctor who has principles and morals and says, I don't want to do that, but yet he will be required by the federal law to do that. He will be required by federal law to do that. That's tyranny. When Congress is too apathetic to address the issues of educating people, and they'd rather just give them a handout, and they don't even have anything to give them. It's just paper. That's lying. So our Congress is in a lot of trouble. And when Congress wants to take away our second right amendment, because why? Because that's the only thing, our shotgun barrel and the trigger is the only thing keeping them from coming in and ripping down every last freedom that we have.
That's right.
Every last freedom we have. That is the only thing that's keeping them from coming in and ripping away every last freedom we have. That's despotism. Despotism. And our forefathers warned against despotism. They warned that someone would come in if we were not careful, and they would take away every last freedom that we have. The oath that those men and women took was to protect us. They're not protecting us. They're not protecting us. They're looking out for themselves and their own agendas. Let me tell you something about that health care bill. I don't even call it a health care bill anymore. I call it an extinction plan. And it is. Because what it's going to do is the older people, you know, my parents are older, they're going to look at them, because they're going to go before a panel. And you know this. I know that you're all educated. People are educating themselves more than they ever have before, and I'm so thankful that they are. But when the older people go before those panels and they say, okay, do I want to give you X amount of dollars? Do I want to give you the amount of time that it takes to deal with breast cancer? We have a parishioner in our church, 76 years old. She just found out she had breast cancer. If she was on this health care bill, she'd be put at the bottom of the list. She's going Monday to see a surgeon. That's the best health care in the entire world. She found out on Wednesday she's going into a surgeon on Monday. We have a friend. David works with a friend. He's from Canada. He married an American, but he never got his American citizenship. He's got a green card. He told me when he saw that bill come out, he said, Kristi, tell everybody you can, do not pass that bill. He told me his sister had to wait 6 months to get into a doctor. I don't remember exactly what it was for, but I know it was very serious. She had to wait 6 months to get into the doctor in Canada. They come to America for that reason. So our current District 8 representative hides behind that blue dog status. He's hiding behind that. And that's what a lot of people in the government are doing. They're hiding. But I just want to tell you something about myself. Somebody asked me, I do remember who asked me. Somebody asked me, you've got a lot of nasty people that are going to come after you. That's a tough race. Are you going to be able to stand? Are you going to be able to be bought? I've been asked that. Are you going to be able to be bought? I'm here to tell you tonight, I want this on tape. I want this recorded in your hearts and your mind. I will not be bought. I will not be bought. There isn't enough money in the world to rob you of your good name.